Hi, guys. Good morning. I am so excited to welcome you to another episode of Little Black Dress Pod. And you guys are in for a treat today. I have the amazingly talented and beautiful, badass woman boss, Sonia Chopra, Dr. Chopra. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm gonna read some introduction of Sonia. All good dental practitioners know that every tooth has a story, but it's only the great ones who recognize that it's people's stories that really matter. Because understanding where your peers and patients are in their journeys is the key to building strong relationships and a stronger practice. And it's all rooted in self empowerment. Dr. Sonia Chopra knows a thing or two about this. You don't become the first female endodontist in Charlotte, North Carolina, and board certified to boot without a serious growth mindset and a strong dose of hustle. Her entire career has been characterized by pushing herself and empowering others to grow as entrepreneurs, leaders, and patient advocates, all in the service of creating a more educated, balanced field. Because Sonia refuses to mind the dentistry status quo when no one would hire her out of residency, she started her own practice. When she felt she was losing time with her family due to how many hours she was spending in the office, she became more intentional with her schedule. And when she realized she could save more teeth and improve lives by providing dentists and endodontists with the proper education, she took it upon herself to lead the charge. Now, on top of running her thriving practice, Sonia provides groundbreaking digital education and community support to general dentists and endodontists who want to uplevel their technical skills, patient experience, and overall business models. Through her thoughtfully designed online course, eSchool, she is revolutionizing the reputation of endodontics through the simple, tangible lessons rooted in her own diverse experience. By empowering dentists to perform better root canals, empowering endodontists to run better practices, and empowering patients to make better health decisions, Sonia is paving a new way forward for the next generation of healthy, confident, empowered people, both in and out of the chair. Welcome to the show, Sonia.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you.
Oh my gosh. Ditto. I really, this is going to be such a great episode. I hope you guys are listening on your drive to and from work, or just cancel your next patient. Just put your earbuds in. It is going to be the best hour. I already know. So we like to break the ice here on the show with a this or that. So it's a rapid fire, whatever comes to your head first, Sonia. Okay.
Yep.
Christmas or Thanksgiving?
Oh, Christmas.
Christmas. Crunchy or creamy peanut butter?
It's creamy.
Creamy. Sight or sound?
Sight.
Me too. And Leonardo DiCaprio or Brad Pitt?
Brad Pitt. We have the same birthday.
When is your birthday?
December 18th.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I am Brad Pitt all the way.
Yeah.
All the way. Oh my goodness. Okay, so that was a fabulous intro, but you are a woman who wears many hats. Is there anything that we don't know? Or actually, I should say, before we get into the professional side of Sonia, what do you have that is a party trick? What can you do that we don't really know about you?
Well, I love to make sourdough bread. That's my favorite thing. And then I bring it to parties, and then it's nice and hot, and you just slab some butter on it, and it's a good icebreaker. That's about it. But otherwise, that's all I got.
Okay, so I love food. Where did you get your starter for sourdough?
From a dear friend of mine, and apparently her starter came from generations, and her starter was 7 years old when it came to me.
Okay, well, if you're listening and you have no idea what we're talking about, Sonia, can you just give us a background of what a starter is?
It's basically it's just what makes your bread bubble, I guess. It's the precursor to any good bread. I don't really even know how the starter starts, because I got the starter from a friend. But it's like a little pet. And I have it
Yes.
in a jar,
Oh,
and I feed it, and it's in my fridge. Actually, I just took her out. We call her Matilda.
I love
And
it. I love it.
and Matilda's in a jar. She stays in my fridge if I'm not using her. Um, and then you have to take her out and you have to feed her because you have to keep her active if you want really good bread that rises. So the key to good bread is a good starter. So if anybody wants some starter, I can raise another Matilda and send.
Can you send me a Matilda?
I would love to
I will
share her.
grow Matilda and you will watch her grow on social media.
I
Let's
will
just,
send I
oh
will
my
send you
gosh,
some.
I would love that. I'm trying, well, I tried this kick for a bit about like not eating so much bread, but I freaking love bread. Like I I cannot say no to bread that
But
is fresh
if
out
you're
of the
going
oven.
but if you're going to eat bread, you want to eat sourdough bread because it's fermented. So it's actually good for you.
Oh, okay. You're not going to hear any arguments from me then. You hear
Yeah,
that, guys? Fermented bread is good for you.
it's good
So
for you.
I was watching a show on HGTV. It was Bobby Flay and Giada. They took a trip to Italy and they went to a place that has starter that
Oh.
has been passed down, I think they said for 300 years.
That beats my 7 years. Let's go get some starter. I want to go
Let's
on
go
a
to
trip.
Italy. Yes, they don't call it old world for nothing.
That's amazing.
Yes. Okay. So Sonia, can you walk us through how you became an endodontist?
Whew, okay, it's a long one. Starts like the day I was born, okay, because I was born without 8 teeth. And then, so like missing my maxillary laterals, my mandibular second bis, and luckily my four wizzies. So really four important teeth. But when I was 17 and I graduated high school, my mom was like insistent that I like restore my mandibular arch. And so at the time it was 1995. So there was really no implants on the scene just yet. I got two bridges on the bottom. And soon after I started to develop a toothache on the lower left side. And so everyone assumed it was coming from the bridge. And at the time, nobody offered to take care of the toothache. Well, first they didn't know where the toothache was coming from, or even if it was a toothache. So 9 months like went by with this crazy pain that would come and go that was just referring everywhere on my head, and I couldn't pinpoint it. And my dentist sent me to the oral surgeon to get my tooth out.
Oh,
And so they sectioned the bridge that was just put on there and took out the posterior abutment. And then
no.
when
Oh
my
my gosh.
but when my anesthesia wore off, my toothache was still there. It was
Oh
the wrong tooth. It was
gosh.
actually tooth number 18 that I had cracked,
Oh my
and
gosh.
it was going necrotic. And that endodontist who, because then I was offered the root canal, right? And the endodontist who treated me was amazing. Like after being 9 months in and out of pain and finally swelling up, and then like meeting this guy who actually had like patience with me, like, and educated me throughout the whole procedure, like had such a profound impact. I didn't realize how much at the time because I was 17 years old. But then as I'm applying to like dental school, because I'm Indian, so I have to be either a doctor or a dentist. Like I don't have a choice. My parents are like, will disown you
Yep.
if you pick any other
Yep.
profession.
Hmm.
So I figured because I was always at the dentist, I might as well be a dentist. And so that landed me in dental school. And then when I was in dental school, I was always wondering like what happened to me. Like I was trying to figure out my own tooth story. And
Hmm.
that just kind of led me into the world of endodontics. I gave general dentistry a try. I did a GPR after dental school. I worked in Manhattan for a few years as a GP, and my heart just kept on coming back to endo. And then I applied and I got into Penn and Nova Southeastern. And I was like, I don't want to stay in cold country for another couple of years. So I went to South Florida, did my residency and loved it. And then moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and had to start my own practice because nobody would hire me. It was 2008 and the economy had tanked. So no one was really looking for an associate, but I also like looked like a little kid, and
Hmm.
like people just didn't take me seriously. And I'm like, okay, well, it's either be unemployed or open my own practice. So I had to go with opening my own practice.
I have, oh man, I want to take this conversation in so many different ways. One, I wanted to ask you, where were you born?
I was born in upstate New York.
Okay.
So in a tiny town called Binghamton, really small.
Binghamton, yes. I
Yeah.
had a lot of classmates at NYU from
Oh,
Binghamton.
nice.
Now, were your parents born in the States?
No, they were born in India and then they literally met each other 1 hour before they got married
Stop. Oh my
and then
gosh.
came over here like 2 days later.
And they're still married.
Yeah,
Wow.
surprisingly.
Now, I imagine there aren't a lot of brown people in upstate New York.
There were not. There there were enough. I mean, we had a decent sized Indian community, but it's interesting. I still like I never really saw myself different growing up,
Awesome. Hmm.
which is maybe that was just me trying to do that, but um I don't know. It wasn't a very diverse like high school.
That's it's really cool though that you never really thought of yourself as the different one.
Yeah.
And my husband and I, so we both grew up. We're both Filipino. We both grew up in the Bay Area, which is it's a melting pot of
Yeah.
cultures. And now we live in Folsom, California, which is an upper middle class, predominantly Caucasian neighborhood. And when we drop off our kids at school and we pick them up, our kids stand out, and we
Yeah.
always wonder like we really hope that they don't see themselves as the brown kids in this school.
Yeah. I don't know how I did it. I don't know. I guess I was lucky that there was a few Indians in my class, like maybe three or four, like nothing crazy, but it did normalize things for me a little bit. Or maybe I just refused to be different.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And then you said that after you graduated from your residency, you couldn't find a job.
No.
So did you feel like it was the economy, or did you think that it was because you were a younger woman?
I
Maybe.
definitely think it was a mix of both.
Hmm.
I think there was a lot of fear around like bringing an associate in and not having enough work for them to do, because 2008 was so scary.
Hmm.
So I do think that was a big piece of it. Um, but I think that even when there was an availability and I went to go interview, like I really wasn't considered because I look little and I look like and maybe again, this is possibly my perception, but it looked like I really didn't have much to contribute, you know?
So your first job as an endodontist was basically in your startup practice?
Yeah, man,
Oh
that
my
was
gosh.
freaking scary.
Yeah, okay, let's walk through that. So you are now, I'm thinking 28, 20,
Probably.
28. Now, are you married? Are you single?
So I'm engaged at this point.
Okay. Is your husband
Yeah,
a dentist?
he is.
He is a GP or
He
endo?
is. He's a GP. And it's really funny because I never dated Indian boys. And he's
Oh.
Indian and
Mm-hmm.
he's like from the same village. It's crazy. He's a
Wow.
Punjabi Khatri Hindu dentist. Like,
What?
how did I land on that? Like crazy.
I love it.
I have no idea how that one happened, but like my parents are thrilled.
Of course. Yeah. Did you guys meet then in dental school?
We met in our GPR that I did in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Nice.
Yeah.
So now you're engaged, and then
Yep.
do you remember like how you decided where to practice? Like how did you land in North Carolina?
So my husband is from here. His whole family is here.
Gotcha.
We have literally a whole nother village here in Charlotte, which is nice. Huge family. Like Christmas just with the family is minimum 50 people.
Oh
It's
my
crazy.
goodness. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So he was here. He was actually very non-committal. And like we dated for 5 years. He really wasn't sure what he wanted to do. And I said, all right, I'm not going to wait. I'm actually going to go do endo while you make up your mind. And I moved to South Florida. Well, and then he decided to come back to Charlotte. I'm like, Charlotte's really not a place that I want to be right now if we're not together. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go do my residency. We'll figure it out. If we don't end up together, we don't end up together. If we do, we do. I just kind of left it up to the universe. 6 months into my program, he proposed. And then a year after that, I started, obviously it was becoming serious. So, okay, I'm like, okay, let me go look for property. Let me go look to find a space for this practice. So it was March of my second year of endo that I decided to look for a space. So I went out with like a commercial real estate guy, hunted for my spot, really tried to pay attention to what felt like me, because I could have gone to Monroe, North Carolina, where there was no endodontist, but there was also like no teeth. Like people just took their teeth out. So I was like, this is not me. And then I saw Ballantyne, which is more my speed, a little bit more urban. It was more my personality, and I could feel the energy like matched me. And so even though there was more competition, I decided like, this is where I want to call home, because I'm going to be spending half of my life here. So found my spot and then started construction. I actually moved to Charlotte, did all my boards and all that stuff that I had to get done. Got married August 31st. So coming up, my anniversary is in a few days.
Oh my goodness. Happy anniversary. How many years? Happy anniversary.
13 years.
Wow.
And 13 years in my practice too. I did the construction starting like through my, wedding process as well. So it's planning
that's
the
not
wedding.
Stressful.
I know, but at least I didn't have to work, and I didn't have children. So it was okay. Like I could handle it. All I had to do was like exercise so I could fit in my wedding dress and focus on these two things. So it was doable. And then I opened my practice on my birthday, which is Brad Pitt's birthday.
I love how you know that, by the way.
And that was my birthday present to myself. And what I did was pretty smart, because I joined study clubs right away, even though I didn't have a practice. I was everywhere. I was at every dental meeting. I was meeting people. I was opening up the week of Christmas is brilliant because everybody else was booked out. So on my first day of work, I had 6 patients.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So like I paid for like 3 months rent, like right there, which was great.
That is okay. So your timing was impeccable. Mm-hmm. So many offices are closed around the holidays, and all of the emergencies happen when the offices are closed. Right. Now, did you start off with 1 assistant, 2 assistants?
So I started off with 1 front desk and 2 assistants, and not long after opening day, 1 assistant walked out at lunch.
Oh, lovely.
Oh yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Oh. And then, okay, so that was 13 years ago. Can you paint the picture of what your practice looks like today?
Yes. So now, so I was a startup and 1 doctor, 3 team members. Now my practice is 3 doctors, looking for a 4th, and 15 team members.
Oh, that's amazing. How big is your footprint, square feet?
It's around 2,500. It didn't start out that way. Like it was a little bit smaller, not too much smaller in the beginning. And then I was only 4 ops for 4 years. And then in 2012, my first associate came in and I expanded. I doubled the waiting room size. I added a conference room. I added a cone beam, and I added a 5th op, which was huge. But now I'm like locked into that space, which stinks. But we're now kind of reinventing ourselves with like remote options and remote team members, so I can use some of my square footage to add 2 more ops. We're going to get rid of the conference room because I work a lot with Densify Serona, and I'm right across the street from their academy in
Oh,
Charlotte.
wow.
Yeah, so I can utilize their space, and we just have a great partnership. And there's restaurants, like last night we had a big outing at Maggiano's and we had 50 people come. It's my conference room is only 8 to 10 people big. So we want to just do bigger events. So we're going to turn that conference room and our old cone beam room and split those up into 2 more ops to make room for the 4th doctor. So we had to really think outside the box on how to rearrange the office within the confines of our square footage to get super creative to handle the growth.
So that's amazing. Now, what do you attribute to all of that growth? Did you hire coaches early on? Like how?
Yeah,
Where did you?
I think step one for me was, I remember like ethics was going to be huge. I was going to do the right thing all the time. And that was kind of where the word of mouth happened. Obviously, I took a lot of emergencies in the beginning. And when I didn't have kids, it was fine, and because my husband had his stuff to do, I had my stuff to do. And he didn't mind that I overworked a little bit, but I would not say no to anybody. So first was patient feedback. Second was really getting people in whenever. But then I kind of hit like a wall. There was only so many people I could treat with good quality for, every day. And then I would start to get tired. So that's when I started to say, okay, I need to start looking for some help. And my wake up call was when I had my first child, and she had to have surgery on her 2nd day of life. And yes, it was horrible. And we had to travel to Cincinnati Children's Hospital multiple times for multiple surgeries. And each time I had to basically close my practice. And I actually lost referrals because they didn't understand. They wouldn't understand why I couldn't see their patients. And that was my wake up call to say, okay, I can't just put all my time and energy into this place. I now have another being that needs my love and guidance and my support. And how do I start being intentional with my time and make sure that I can give support to both areas without sacrificing me? That part that lesson probably came a lot later after my 3rd child. Because with every child, I add another doctor, take another day off, because it's a lot.
It is a lot. Now, how old was your startup when you had your first child?
So opened December 2008. First child was July 4th, 2010.
Wow.
So only 2 years old. I mean, finding an endodontist to cover maternity leave is a little different. They also have to be licensed in North Carolina. There's not much. So I had to pay somebody to drive an hour every day to cover my office. I only got a 2-week maternity leave for my first child. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And most of that, we were in the ICU because she had to have surgery on day 2. So,
but she's fine now.
She's beautiful, thriving, and amazing, and love her to pieces.
I can't even imagine that. Like doing your own business or opening your own business from scratch. That's still in its infancy, pretty much.
Yep.
It's 2 years old. And now you have a newborn who needs surgery, and you are the only practitioner in your practice. Yeah. Like there are so many things. Like, did you have what did your support system look like? Did you have, like, was your husband working full time? Did you have nannies, family?
My husband was working full time. This is when my mother-in-law, when she found out the news, she decided to quit her job, and she would help us a little bit, but we still didn't want to, because now my sister-in-law, so my husband's siblings, they're also getting pregnant. So they're
Mm-hmm.
also going to need to lean on grandma. So
Mm-hmm.
I knew, because our jobs were so demanding, like we can't just cancel our patients, like
Right.
we have to show up for work. So we needed to
Mm-hmm.
have a support system that was like ironclad, right? So we got a live-in nanny
Nice.
um, to start. We started with au pairs, and then live-in nannies for about like 8 years. And now I still have a nanny, but that now that my kids are all in school, they kind of help with other things, like more house management and stuff like that.
I so when I opened Smile and Co, I found out that I was pregnant 6
Oh,
weeks after our doors opened. So all of this is like it's like PTSD coming
yeah,
thinking about like all of those processes and the amount of support that you needed both mentally and physically.
yeah,
And I remember staying at home with Cody. So I actually, a week to the day that I delivered, I was in the office seeing a patient, and I was still swollen. And I have saddle stools in my office. Like I could barely sit on the saddle stool, but I had to be there for that patient.
yeah,
And I was thinking like, holy crap, like you can't be 100% present in your practice, and you can't be
yeah,
100% present at home. And when I nursed him at home, my mind was on the practice. Like,
yeah.
what is everyone doing? Are patients coming in? Because I had a doctor who came and she helped um, fill in for me while I took a pseudo maternity leave.
Right.
Although it's not really a leave, is it? Like you can't really
No,
leave it when it's your
right.
other baby. Did you have the same thoughts as me, like mom guilt and just feeling inadequate?
Yeah. I mean, and it came from so many directions. Like
Mm-hmm.
people telling me like I needed to nurse. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I can't. I've got to pump and give the
Mm-hmm.
bottle so that there's no like nipple dependency.
Yes.
So like even not feeling like I could feed my child the
Mm-hmm.
way that I wanted to, because I had to leave and be out of my house 5 days a week, and that was probably so hard. And then there's so many emotions and hormones that you're dealing with, and the dentistry itself is so stressful, right? And the
Yes.
patient management, and like, there's so much fear and anxiety wrapped around the word root canal that all of
Yes.
my patients are like freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have all this stuff that I'm holding in. Meanwhile, my boobs leaking as I'm trying to do root canal number two. And like my mood was so bad
Yeah.
that I couldn't lead. I couldn't lead a team through all this. And I feel like I was pregnant and hormonal for like a whole decade, because I had
Oh, yeah.
three kids, right? And so like I was just a mega bitch. And so the turnover in my practice was horrendous
Mm,
because of that. And I didn't have any awareness of it,
mhm,
of how I was communicating. And it hurt my practice.
mhm.
And but yet my practice was still growing, it was still exploding, and I just couldn't, like, on the inside it was a mess, but nobody could really see that. Now it's so different. It's really interesting because now my associate's pregnant,
Mm,
and she's going through the same thing. And it's funny because the team members are like approaching her and saying, hey, you were kind of, this way to this one employee. And I'm like, oh gosh, here we
uh,
go. And so
yep.
like, luckily I can be there for her, and I can
Mhm,
be there for the team and let them know like, hey, like this is normal. Like give her some grace. Like she is holding a human inside of her,
yep.
growing something very special. She's not going to be herself right now. And everyone just needs to have some grace. But I didn't have anyone looking out for me like that. And that was a really, really hard time. That there were moments where I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to survive this practice ownership thing. I may have to give away the keys.
There's so many. I mean, I remember I took a, oh gosh, when I was pregnant with Cody, and you know, when you're a startup, every patient who walks in the doors is like the lifeblood of your practice.
Yeah.
And I had new patients back to back because obviously we had just opened, and I would excuse myself and throw up in the bathroom.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like hurling. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so awful. I'm pretty sure. So you've seen my office. I don't really have walls. So I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure everyone is hearing what's the shenanigans that are happening. And then now I'm like trying to compose myself, feeling like shit,
Yeah.
both physically, but also like, what the hell did I get myself into? Like, how did I open this practice and then have a surprise pregnancy, because Cody was our little, we call him our celebratory baby. Apparently, grand opening day was a lot of fun. And we can talk.
I love that.
Yeah.
A whoops.
It's
He's a
a,
whoops.
yes, but I mean, everything. I think the biggest thing that I get, because I get a lot of women docs reaching out to me, just asking like, how do you do it? Like, how do you do it all? In fact, we talked about this before we hit record. Like, how do you do it all? And I wrote down specifically what I wanted to talk to you about, because we don't do it all.
Mhm.
Sonia, can you walk us through like outsourcing? Like what does your everyday look like? And what does the team look like that supports you?
So outsourcing is king on like every level. And I think the first thing I ever outsourced was just like cleaning my house, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no need for me to spend 8 hours cleaning my
Mm-hmm.
house. So that was like step one. All of a sudden I got a new date back and I was like, oh, it's only $150. Like, what? That's ridiculous. Okay. So now I'm going to outsource that. And
Yes.
then, as things got busier for me, I started outsourcing more. So I even now have a chef who comes to my house and cooks me just 2 meals a week, because dinners are hard for me sometimes.
Yes.
My nanny is another outsource. Like, there's no reason for me to take my kids to dance class where I can't even watch them because there's no window. That's just a waste of my time. So pick up some days from school are by the nanny and takes them to dance class. Everybody comes home. The chef had made a nice meal. We just warm it up a little bit and eat it. It's gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free. So it's healthy too. He does the grocery shopping.
Shut up.
He does well, for those meals, he does the grocery shopping. He does the cooking. He cleans up.
Oh
Like,
my
so my
gosh.
kitchen is not a mess, and he puts everything in glass containers and puts them in my fridge. Great. So now I have 2 meals, and usually there's leftovers. So I actually have lunch the next day too. So I don't have to worry about my food, right? So cleaning lady, chef, nanny, that's like my personal home team.
I love it.
Need them.
Yes.
And yes, it's an expense, but the amount that I can make doing more root canals, the ROI it's easy.
It's huge.
It's huge. It's there. And then, one thing I learned actually with you and Anissa in delivering WOW is to really how to delegate properly at the office. Like, the doctor should really only be doing the dentistry. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else should be done by the team. And there's so many doctors that feel like they have to do everything, or they are the only one who can do it right, which is the wrong belief system.
Absolutely.
You've got to know that there are other people that can do things and they can do it better than you, so that you can just focus on the dentistry. Like, I realized at the beginning part of this kind of self-development journey, and it was around 2016 when I finally had it with the last person walking out on me. And I realized, okay, I am not good at doing dentistry and putting out business fires at the same
Right.
time. Like a
Yes.
clinical and a manager hat simultaneously does not work for me.
No.
Everyone is going to think I'm a fucking bitch. Like, that's it.
I love it. And yes, we say fuck on this
Yeah.
show.
And
Yes.
yes, sorry. It's just that's how I came across. And I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So, then I started having like clinical days and one admin day. And
Hmm.
then, I'll put out all the fires you need me to on Friday. And then I started doing 2 admin days, and then I realized, okay, now I have the energy to delegate and delegate properly, which is probably the best thing Anissa ever taught me, is how to do that well.
Hmm.
And make sure every task is given a source person and a due date. And then if there's any other expectations within that task that you need to manage, you do that. And you put it in to ClickUp or Asana or something like that. And you let the app micromanage the people, like give them reminders that the due date's coming up, that the task is due. It doesn't have to be you to micromanage anymore. And as a result of this, I've built leaders in my practice. I have I don't have an office manager. I think that's such a BS term, and it creates a level of hierarchy in your team, and it will crush your culture. I have team leaders, I have team mentors, and I have a clinical lead, and I have a front office lead. And actually now I have 2, I have co-leaders, because it's just, every job is easier when you can have somebody
Right.
else. But when you have this layer of accountability with your task board, then everything gets done. That gets delegated gets done. There's no question on who's going to do it. And all this stuff gets done while you're doing your dentistry.
I
It's
love it.
amazing.
I
Yeah.
love it. And well, if you guys don't know, Sonia has, I mean, you're such a hustler, Sonia. You have your blog, you have your eSchool, which I'm going to talk about eSchool in just a second, but at what point during your practice while raising 3 kids, and like when did you start, where did you get this idea, one, of starting a blog, and two, can you tell us, like, how did you find the people who support and create social media content, and videographers and photographers, like, because all of these things, like, I have so many ideas that I want to launch also, and it's always like, I don't have the time to do this. Like, I don't know where to start. And it's also the mindset that, do I spend more money on this if I don't even know if there's going to be a return on investment?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So that was I had a few fears in the beginning. One was I had a lot of imposter syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
because it took me back to when I opened my practice, or just looking for that job. Like, oh, if no one wanted to hire me, like, who's going to listen to me as the endo expert, right? But the birth of eSchool, which is my endo online education program, that really came from, number one, practice burnout, and
Mm-hmm.
realizing that, like, I wasn't happy in my practice for the time.
What year did that happen? Like the burnout?
2000, 2016, specifically January 26th, 2016.
Was there a pivotal moment where you just like said, fuck this, I don't
Yeah.
want to do this anymore?
Yeah. So it was my 3rd maternity leave. I was watching the cash flow in my practice, and it was like, I'm like, how am I not going to hit payroll? Like, this is weird.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, I have the partner in the practice now. Like, my belief is that he's watching things, and I love him to death. I'm not trying to bash him or anything. He's an amazing brother to me. Like, there's amazing transparency between us. But it took him a while to graduate from functioning as an associate to an owner. And I had the assumption that he knew exactly what to do, and I needed to give him more guidance. So actually, it was a fault in leadership on my part for some of this. So one day I was looking for a binder. My front desk, she had to leave for 3 days because her grandmother had passed away. And I had asked her, I'm like, where's this binder? I can't find it. Well, she's like, oh, it's in this back drawer. I open this
Oh
back
no.
drawer and I find the binder, but I also find a stack of papers, like 3 feet tall, of unopened insurance checks.
Stop.
It was $40,000
Oh
shoved in a
my
drawer.
gosh. Oh
And
my gosh.
I was like, oh my God, no wonder I'm having problems with cash flow and I'm not going to
Oh.
hit payroll. So I quickly fixed it, realized this is when I realized my systems were really not good. And that was the birth of Systems Chopra. Okay. And now I'm like a beast when it comes to systems.
I love it. I love it.
So that was my rock bottom. I was like, oh my God, like I've worked my entire life to get to this moment and it feels like shit. And I don't know what to do. And I was ready. I was so close to quitting, but I also had this deep desire, this passion that I knew I had to help more people beyond the 4 walls of my practice. I was seeing my tooth story in patients every single day. And so I knew that there was something wrong with the education system. Dental school is just not teaching endo
Not
the
even
way we
close.
need to learn endo. So I was like, okay, I'm going to drop another day and I'm going to start focusing on this program. I read this book by Danielle Laporte. It's called Firestarter Sessions. My dear friend, she's the food babe. I don't know if you know her, but she's like super gung-ho female entrepreneur, like awesomeness. And she gave me this recommendation. So I read it and I just felt this passion in me. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to teach endo differently. That's it.
That's amazing. Wait, what is it called again?
Firestarter Sessions by Danielle Laporte. So for those of you who are wondering what is that itch inside of you and you have maybe a side hustle in you, like read it. You might get the inspiration you need. So then I started working on that part. I was realizing that, okay, I need to build my own brand outside. Within my practice, I had to have my own brand. And that's kind of where, like, I started to see those tooth stories. I'm like, okay, that's when I'm going to talk in tooth stories because I want to show people like, this is how you save teeth. And my hashtag has become give teeth a chance. Because there's too many teeth that are extracted and there's so much value to our teeth. This is what gives us our confidence. This is what gives us our nutrition, our hydration. Like we should not be taking out so many teeth. And half the people think that these teeth are cracked and they're not cracked. They just need to be cleaned out again. And so that was like the birth of my blog. And my blog is like true passion. Like it doesn't take me long to write those tooth stories because it's
so you do write.
I write all of my blogs.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I actually write all of my content, but I do have a copywriter who will go and zhuzh it because my commas are probably in the wrong spot. Like I am not, I'm a dentist and I didn't really like excel in English growing up. I used to copy my brother's stuff and resubmit it because it was 5 years later and the teacher forgot. So
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. So oh gosh, I just want to talk to you all day, Sonia. And can you believe it's already been 50 minutes? Like this is insane. So you and I met through Anissa several years ago, and then you let me beta test eSchool.
Yes.
And I was just like so impressed by the level of content and the way it was produced. And I mean, it was so freaking good, Sonia. And if you guys struggle with endo, if you want more training on endo, this is the only guide that you need. Sonia is amazing and you're so easy on the eyes. Like the entire time I'm like fangirling, like looking at you. You're like so seriously stunning and you're doing it all. Like how do you mind talking about the financial investment that
Mhm.
you made in order to launch this, and like how did you go from ground zero to where eSchool is today?
So it was about a $50,000 investment to get it started when you think about it, because you have to have a website, right? So somebody to design your website. And that's where I started, and the blogs. And then I didn't realize, okay, I need a website. So this website person could make everything. No, but they don't put the words on the page. They just
Oh.
design it, right? So you need the copywriter
Oh my
to
gosh.
get your voice, to put the voice on the page, right? So I'm like, oh my gosh, that's another expense. And then from there, like, that was just the blog piece. And then you have somebody like who needs to manage your social, who needs to manage your Facebook ads. Then you need to do SEO. And then that's like a whole nother person. And then I needed somebody to help me with like the tech, like Active Campaign and the email side of things. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how to do any of this. And I could have either figured it out on my own, but I was still a mother of three and managing this practice. So I just started putting people into place. I will say, I think I got like really, really lucky. So my social media company for my practice, there was this one gem. Her name is Lisa. And I don't know why she did this. I have no idea. But she would work like weekends. And she helped me produce. She used to work for Sally Jesse Raphael.
Stop it.
So she knew like the whole production, like how to produce. So she handled everything in the beginning when I knew nothing. Now I know so much more. And now I could reproduce things myself. That gave me the time to just work on the content, and creating like all the content was one thing, but then creating it in a way that it goes on a teleprompter is another thing. And then making sure you have a videographer. But it's not, video is one thing, then it's lighting and sound.
Yes.
And then it's editing. So I didn't know, I thought a videographer could also edit, but no. It's like the copywriter and the web designer. Now you need the videographer and an editor. So it's really interesting because my dental assistant, my OG, Michelle, she's like my BFF, love her to pieces. She's been with me since day one. So for 13 years, her fiance is a videographer. So he captured, this was like scrappy. Like we did it scrappy. Like it was, the set was in my office.
It did not look scrappy
at
at
was
all.
So scrappy.
Gosh.
It was so scrappy because I pulled a desk from my conference room, made this little makeshift set in my reception area. I bought a teleprompter, Lisa loaded everything, and she would guide the teleprompter at the speed, getting the right speed that you can read. The teleprompter is crazy. And then that took months, like, because I could only go on weekends. So now my husband hates my guts because I'm gone every weekend, right? Yeah. Doing this project. And then my videographer tells me that, I can't edit. I'm like, what? So I have all this footage for this amazing program.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like tens of thousands of dollars in on this project because I spent 12 grand on my website. I spent 10 grand on the videographer, and I spent and now I have all this stuff, and I still have no product. And I'm like, oh my gosh. My web designer, she is an angel. She introduced me to someone else who I've never met to this day. I'm telling you, the universe wanted me to create eSchool.
Oh my gosh.
This lady, she's a news anchor in Charlotte. And I'm like, hey, I have this thing and I can't find anyone to edit this stuff. Can you help me? She asked like 3 people that said no. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then she's like, hold on, let me call one more person. Let me get this Hail Mary. Like, let's do this. And he said yes. And I was like, oh my God. So then I'm sitting with him because he's got no dental experience. I'm like, you got to have this x-ray fly in, this x-ray, this has to say this one, this. So now I'm editing with this dude. And then that gets delayed. I mean, and of course, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist and I want to urge everyone, like, just roll your shit out like a B minus and then fix it later. Otherwise,
I
you'll
love
waste
it.
a year out of your life.
Yes.
Like, don't worry, no one's going to know. It's like your wedding day
Yeah.
when stuff goes wrong. Nobody knows but you. Just get it out into the world. So finally, I launch it and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I had 38 people sign up in my first launch.
That's fucking amazing.
And I was
Sonia.
like, wow.
That is, oh, okay. We are so going to have you back on. Like, I feel like this was just the tip. This was just the tip of the iceberg because we didn't even get into like marriage and feeling like any regret or money. Like, there's so many things I want to pick your brain on so many levels. So we absolutely are going to have you back because what you're doing, what you're propelling forward, especially for young women who, I mean, they don't even have to be a dentist. Like, they just have to have passion and the desire to do other things. And oh gosh, I'm so excited that we finally connected, and we absolutely, guys, we are gonna have a part 2 for Sonia because
I'd love that because
oh my gosh,
we need to still talk about like Life Book and what that did to
so
change
much.
my life. Oh my gosh.
Wait, okay, before we go then, what is Life Book?
So Life Book is a program that I took in 2019. And it basically, it's like a giant vision board essentially, but you dissect the 12 categories of your life, from health and fitness to your character, emotional, parenting, social, marriage, quality of life, and you legit figure out what are your beliefs about certain things and where do you need to change some of your beliefs. What is your vision? But why is that your vision? What's the purpose behind that vision? And then what's the strategy to get there? And it was that has catapulted me into this amazing life that I now love, where, I mean, there was a time where my husband and I, we were rocky. I wasn't sure if we were going to make it because we both had our passions and our side hustles, and we were almost like roommates for a few years. And now, like, we got
fuck this. We aren't ending this yet. we are so, this is, yeah, no, we're just going to talk. We're just going to talk about all the things. Okay. So you guys were at a rough spot, which, I mean, anybody who's married longer than a day, there's going to be a rough spot.
Yeah.
So Life Book, how did you find Life Book? And then, sorry to interrupt you because I just got super excited.
Yeah. So it's really interesting because my 10-year anniversary came and I really wanted to go to Bali. And I was just looking at, Instagram one day and it was Shaquila had a post. Remember Shaquila?
Yes, I love Shaquila.
And she was with this girl and I was like, oh, who's this girl? And I clicked on her and then I started looking at her feed and she's at this amazing party called A Fest. And I was like, what is this? So I click on A Fest and then it said, the next A Fest is in Bali. I was like, motherfucker, this is meant to be. So, and then I find out, okay, you need to apply for this A Fest.
Oh shit.
So I was like, okay, I did. And then I was like, honey, you need to apply too. Because if this is happening, we're going. And he's gonna be so mad at me for saying this, but I got accepted and he didn't. But luckily I could bring a guest and I was like, that's it. The universe wants me to go to Bali for my anniversary.
Yes.
So we went and we went to A Fest. We had an amazing time. If you can imagine, it's like personal development, like Tony Robbins stuff during the day, but like Burning Man at night. So
nice.
It's crazy. So it's so much fun. So you get dressed up and you do these awesome parties, and it's just so much fun. And it's all these people with like very common mindsets and beautiful people, beautiful just experiences all the way around. And we learned about Lifebook there, and it's given by John and Missy Butcher, and they were having like their last hurrah at their home in Chicago. And so we flew to Chicago and we did Lifebook in their home. Oh, look at this balloon, Spider-Man balloon coming.
I have the same exact balloon in my house.
Oh my
floating
God.
right
Deflating.
now. Yes,
Deflating.
deflating. Yes.
and we did Lifebook. It's a 5-day, well, at the time it's a 5-day like in-person experience. Obviously that's changed now, but they don't do that anymore. Now they're cultivating Lifebook leaders. So my husband and I just got certified because we want to help other people do it, because it helped us so much. Being
Nice.
able to be super intentional about every area in our life.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
It was just an amazing immersive experience. There was 20 other people in our group, and we shared all these experiences. We learned from each other. We cried together. We had breakthroughs. We were just vibrating on totally different levels. And my husband and I are so much more connected now. The sex is better. It's just
so good.
so good.
So good. Oh my gosh. Okay. Like I just want, okay. One, I want you to take me on as your mentee. I'm
That'd be
like,
great.
I'm fucking serious. I have been wanting I'm so scatterbrained, and I have, like I said, like I have so many things that I want to launch and then no way to get there. And then also the imposter syndrome on top of it all, thinking like, why me? Like, why, like, who am I?
Right.
But it's this, like, you have something on your right shoulder that says you want to do this, and the other part that says, who are you? Like, why do you think you can do this?
You just got to ignore this guy.
Right. Oh my gosh. Is there anything that you want to leave our audience with?
I just say, like, listen to your heart, do what you want to do, learn to accept fear for what it is. And it's really not a negative emotion, it's an awareness emotion. And when you can have a good relationship with fear, it will actually catapult you to do the things that you love. And Nike has it right. Like, just do it. Just do it. And for me with eSchool, it was a huge undertaking. It was a huge risk. I didn't know if there was really a business model there, but my goal was, deep down, if I can just help one person, it would be totally worth it. And for me, the financial investment was either I could buy a car or I can do this. And I chose to do this. And I was like, I can keep running on my old ass Mini Cooper from 2012. That's cool. I'm good. It gets me from point A to point B, and I still love it. It's like I had to change it out, but it was enough for me. And this was more. I love it. Project was a passion of mine, and I'm so happy I did it, because now it's opened even more doors. And that's what you don't realize when you're stuck and you're not doing something. You don't realize what taking that leap will do for you to just change your life.
I love it.
Just do it.
I fucking love that so much. We're going to end with, it's kind of fun. We always say, what are the 3 things that you always have in your purse?
Lipstick.
Okay. What, do you have a favorite brand and shade? Because I just want to look like you, Sonia.
Oh, Sophisto? I don't know. It's a MAC color.
Okay.
Let's see what else. I have, a mask now.
Okay.
and I got some keys.
Okay.
Nothing fancy in my purse.
And you guys know that Colin and I always have Cocoa Floss in our purse, because we are Cocoa Floss obsessed. Use the code LBD pod 21 and get 20 20% off your first order of Cocoa Floss. I always have lipstick also. I always carry like 4 or 5 different shades, even though I don't fucking know why, because nobody sees our lips anymore.
No.
I'm looking outside and California's on fire. There's like, it literally looks like I'm in a Traeger right now. It's really sad. But Sonia, where can people find you and connect?
You can find me all the time on Instagram at Sonia Chopra DDS. That's Sonia with an I, by the way. And then my website is soniachopradds.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sonia, for sharing your morning with us. I am so excited to have a part 2 of this because, like I said, we've just barely touched the surface, and you are killing it in so many areas. And you're also showing that you're not doing it all in order to achieve it all, which I love. I absolutely love.
And if you need help with finding the pieces of, I'm happy to support you and give you people that'll help you get your vision out of your head and into the world.
I'm totally serious. Like, I want you to take me under your wing. Like, I want you to be my mentor. Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Awesome. Well, thanks guys for listening. Find us on Facebook, join the Little Black Dress Pod community there. We have Instagram, Little Black Dress Pod, and we have our trailer on Spotify and Apple. And we are going to be releasing these first few episodes in a couple weeks. So yeah, I mean, by the time you listen to this, it's already out. So have a fabulous weekend, Sonia. We can't wait to have you back.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Always. Take care. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.